The famous Tabi'i Sa'id ibn Musayyib rahmatullah alayhi mentions that upon occasion we were returning from Mina to Makkah, and when we reached the outskirts of Makkah, Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu wanted to rest, and he took some sand and he made a pillow out of it. This was a man who was the leader of the superpower of his day. But what was his pillow? It was sand. And before he lay down, he made a dua. He said, Allahumma inni as'aluka shahadatan fi sabilik wa mawtan fi baladi rasulik. He said, oh Allah, I ask you for martyrdom in your path and death in the city of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And Hafsa radiallahu anha, the daughter of Umar radiallahu anhu, who was listening to this dua, and she found it strange that if you want martyrdom, you go in the battlefield. You go and do jihad, you want martyrdom and you want it in the city sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted the dua of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. The incident leading up to the martyrdom of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu was that in Medina there was a Zoroastrian slave, a Persian fire worshipper. And he was a slave of the famous Sahabi radiyallahu anhu, Mughira ibn Shu'bah. And Abu Lu'lu' was a very skilled carpenter, and what he would do, he would work and he would give a portion of his wealth to his master. Upon occasion he came to Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu and he complained that the amount that he had to give to his master was excessive. And Umar radiallahu anhu said, I will speak to Mughira and I will get back to you. And Umar radiallahu anhu spoke to Mughira and he came to the conclusion that the amount that he had to give to his master wasn't excessive. And when Abu Lu'lu' came back, Umar radiallahu anhu informed him of his decision. And Abu Lu'lu' became enraged. And he said, oh Umar, is your just for everybody in the dunya besides me? And then he would go around Medina and he would say, Akala Umaru kabdi, Umar has eaten my liver. Upon occasion, Umar radiallahu anhu was walking by and he saw Abu Lu'lu'. And addressing Abu Lu'lu', Umar radiallahu anhu said, oh Abu Lu'lu', I hear that you make great windmills, make me a windmill. And Abu Lu'lu' said sarcastically, he said, oh Umar, I will make you a windmill that the dunya will speak about. I will make you a windmill that the dunya will speak about. And he went on his way. And Umar radiallahu anhu, he turned to his companions and he said, do you know what he's alluding to? He's alluding to the fact that he will try to kill me. And the companion said, oh Amirul Mu'mineen, if that's the case, then let's deal with him now. Let's deal with him. And listen to the words of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. He said, preemptive action cannot be taken on the basis of suspicion. Preemptive action cannot be taken on the basis of suspicion. This was a kafir who was going around Medina and saying that Umar has eaten his liver. And at that time Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu was the leader of the superpower of his time. They had defeated the Romans and the Persians. But Umar's sense of justice wouldn't allow him to take preemptive action. Really, in the justice of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, there is a great lesson for those who regard themselves as civilized. Those who initiate wars on the back of preemptive action. Who lock up people indefinitely because they may do this or they may do that. Who lock up people on a faraway island and leave them in legal limbo like Guantanamo Bay because they may be a threat to national security. Who really stoop to new levels of injustices, like locking up a 13-year-old child on Guantanamo Bay. Do you recently remember this incident about this girl who ran away with an American soldier, Siobhan Pennington? She was a 13-year-old girl, and they didn't blame her because she was young, she was vulnerable, she was innocent. And no blame was leveled against her. But here you can lock away a 13-year-old child on a faraway island, in a cage, and you can still regard yourself as civilized. If you want to see justice, you look into the life of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, that his deep insight allowed him to ascertain from the words of Abu Lu'lu' that he would try to kill him, but his sense of justice did not allow him to take preemptive action. The day Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu passed away, Amr ibn Maymun rahmatullah alayhi mentioned that between me and Umar ibn al-Khattab there was only one person, meaning that I was in the second saf. In front of me was Abdullah ibn Abbas, and then it was Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu. And he mentioned that Umar radiyallahu anhu came, he straightened the sufuf, and he said the Allahu Akbar, and he began the salah, and Abu Lu'lu' was hiding in the mihrab. He was hiding in the mihrab. See, in those days the masjid weren't huge structures. They were small, they were dark. The ceiling of Masjid Nabi Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam barely exceeded the heads of those who prayed within it. And there was no fancy carpet. And the walls were made out of unbaked clay. But the men which emanated from these masajids were baked. And today, you have these huge structures. But the men which emanate from these masajids are the likes of me and you, soft as the pillows that we sleep on. And Abu Lu'lu'ah, he had bought a knife, 2-edged knife, and he dipped it in poison. And when Umar radiallahu anhu began his recitation, Abu Lu'lu'ah jumped out and he stabbed Amir al-Mu'mineen a number of times. And Umar radiallahu anhu, whilst he was falling to the floor, he managed to hold the hand of Abdurrahman ibn Auf, and he dragged him upon the masalla. He's been stabbed of times, but he's still concerned about the salah of the believers. And then Abu Lu'lu'ah ran out and he was stabbing the Sahaba. He stabbed 13 Sahaba, out of which 7 passed away. Until finally he was overpowered and they threw a cloak over him, and when he knew game over, he slit his own throat. And Abdurrahman ibn Auf radiallahu anhu recited 2 very short surahs, and then they turned to Amir al-Mu'mineen, and the first thing Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu said, he said Abdullah ibn Abbas to find out who had stabbed him. And Abdullah ibn Abbas radiallahu anhu came back and he informed Amir al-Mu'mineen it was Abu Lu'lu'ah, the Zoroastrian slave. And even in this state, Amir al-Mu'mineen, he became elated, he became happy. He became happy and he said, Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yaj'al meetati ala yadi rajulin yashjudu lillahi sajdatan. He said, Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yaj'al meetati ala yadi rajulin yashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Alhamdulillah alladhi lam yaj'al meetati ala yadi rajulin yuhajuni bil la ilaha illallah yawm al-qiyamah. He became happy and he said, oh, praise be to Allah that he did not make death fall upon the hand of a person who even did one sajda in his life for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, oh, praise be to Allah who did not make my death fall upon the hands of a person who recited the kalima la ilaha illallah. He said, oh, praise be to Allah who did not make my life fall on the hands of a person who will come on the day of Qiyamah and will argue with me with the kalima la ilaha illallah. Because really, it was inconceivable for these people that a Muslim would take the life of another Muslim. Because they understood the words of the Prophet ﷺ when he was doing tawaf around the Kaaba, and he turned to the Kaaba and dressed in the Kaaba, he said, indeed you are honorable in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but know that the life of a believer is more honorable than you are. And they understood the words of the Prophet ﷺ, that the destruction of the entire dunya is lighter in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the murder of one believer. The murder of one believer. I ask you, what would you say about a person whose intention it was to destroy the Kaaba? You would say he's a degenerate. You would say he's the scum of the earth. The Prophet ﷺ saying that the murder of one believer, the blood of one believer is more precious than the Kaaba. And now you see it's a norm that a Muslim will take the life of another Muslim. We complain that globally the kuffar are taking our lives. But you look, if the kuffar weren't taking them, we would be taking them. You don't have to go far, you don't have to go global, you don't have to go national, you can go local. Where one gangster will prop off another gangster. One Muslim will prop off another Muslim because he wants to be the baddest drug dealer in town. Because he wants to have the greatest street cred in town. And he will kill his Muslim brother because he's deluded by this dunya. I often wonder, what will these people do on the day of judgment when they stand in front of subhanahu wa ta'ala and the wife will come and she will say, oh Allah, this is the man who left me a widow. I often wonder, what will they do on the day of judgment when the child will come and he will say, oh Allah, this is the man who left me an orphan.